This session, we're going to be looking at innovation and creativity. And the focus is knowing how to solve problems using ideation process. Remember, 2 days ago during the session, we talked about the importance of ideation. Idea ruled the world. And of course, yesterday we go into looking at financial literacy. So it's assumed that you've come to terms with the fact that you have the capacity to dream, to think, to ideate. So what then do you do with your ideations? What do we do with ideas? How do you navigate through turning those ideas into reality? One of the ways by which you can achieve that is going through the process of creativity. And that's why we need to quickly, um, break that down into relatable concepts, what you can really make do with, right? So I'll be showing you ways by which you can unlock the power that is embedded in creativity and innovation. They say creativity is the mother of invention. There's a way when you harness the power in creative thinking, it can make you overcome whatever limitation or whatever ordeal that life may present before you. You break through a lot of barriers. So that's how important it is for you to be able to create this track yourself. So the first thing we're going to look at is what kind of power is in this creativity and innovation, right? It's so important that it is essential, it is mandatory that whatever it is that you want to leverage on in life, you have to deploy this skill as something that is so crucial, something that is so important. And there's no way you can talk about creativity without looking at the other hand of it, which is innovation, because they're more like Siamese twins. So when you're looking at developing creative skills, you also need to think about what you would do with the skills. And that's where the hand of innovation comes in. So every creative ideas end up into innovation. So when you talk about innovation, you are going to see what exactly we mean, right? So it's not just enough for you to know that you have creative skills, but what you do with those skills or what you do with those ideas is what is most important that people relate with. So when you put these two together, it's just like when you have rice and beans, it becomes a sumptuous meal that gives you some kind of vital health and give you some kind of nutrients which will elevate you to do extraordinary things. And for me, I always believe that you only need small inches, strategic inches, for you to be able to open large doors in lives. I think I don't know how many of us still remember the age of Skype, when Skype was a bane of social um, media communication. When you want to do video meetings and all of that, it was Skype. This was on my Skype profile for many years. Small inches open large or great doors. And when I was thinking about this was one of the things that came to mind. How that how what kind of level of creativity that gone into regenerating and transforming social media, from the age of Skype to Facebook Live. Now you have Twitter, you have X, you have TikTok. I mean, and the innovation keeps going with technology. So it's very important that you know that it's all start from having small ideas, not necessarily those big dreams. In fact, sometimes the small dreams might just look like, silly thinking, but yet it has the capacity of growing big and empowering you to do awesome things. This is exactly what creativity is. And you see how those small ways of doing things differently can accumulate to become a powerful stream of channeling you into innovation. Okay, so let's look at some definitions which I believe will help you to embrace this skill. When you're talking about creativity, for me, is just you doing something unique. You know, um, you're doing things out of convention. You're doing things And there are some people that have this as their natural traits. You've done self-awareness test, personality test. Those of you that have these as part of your traits, as part of your dominant features or attributes, you will have discovered by now. You are always inclined to not just following the norms, following through status quo, right? You are willing to take risk. You are willing to dare the unknown. Okay, you are willing to chart the course of uncertainty. You tend to walk towards creativity naturally, whereas others, just like when we talk about the issue of leadership, some are born to be leaders, while true leaders are made, right? So it's true that you may have creative inclinations, but you need to develop, you know, uh, uh, um, um, a strong and powerful creative ability, right? And this has to do with a high level of intentionality. I remember when I had opportunity to begin my journey in in design in the School of Architecture many years ago. One of my first turn off has to do with the fact that I had to be doing art designs. I thought it's just going to be all about engineering drawing because that was one of the things that drew me into architecture way back in secondary school when I was doing technical drawing. We used to use tools, the curves, call them French curve series or sets. You have all these templates. We call them furniture templates. Those are the things we used to use, and compass, of course, and dividers. So I thought that's what architecture is going to be all about. You use tools. It doesn't have anything to do with uh, um, creative heart and all of that. But I was shocked. I was surprised. Year one, they asked us to carry drawing boards. You have to go around the entire campus, draw the landscapes, the natural features, whatever it is you see, buildings, trees, the skies. I was like, I'm going to run out of this place. This is not fit for me, because I've never imagined myself uh, um, doing physical art, doing um, hard to work from that sense, graphics, design, and all of that. So, but hey, I cope because I felt at that point in time it's essential for me to excel. It's essential for me to succeed. So I had to learn the art of design through drawing at work. Initially it wasn't easy, but I learned it. Whereas there were people, my colleagues, my classmates, who were already gifted drawing. When they do their own, when they did their own assignment, you see the way they use strokes, shading patterns, how they handle pencil. But with time, I learned the through continuous practice, and of course also, oh, thank you, Utsman. So I have a witness here, So I learned it after a while, and that now informed certain things I had to now adopt, and turn into practice. Part of it has to do with my handwriting. I need to learn how to write uniquely, just to have a signature. Part of it also has to do with the selection of what I use in rendering, right? If other people prefer to use pencil or rotring pens, I'll decide to use watercolor or pastel. I mean, I just want to do things differently. So those are part of the things that you have to also learn along the way in life, even if it's not nature to you. If it's nature to you in terms of your personality type, is a plus. But if not, it's something that you can learn and even get pretty much better at it, depending on the level of your intentionality. So this is what creativity is all about. So I would say that creativity is a skill that can be acquired. It can be learned. It's something that you can actually develop with some level of intentionality. You have to have that sense of openness in order for you to embrace new learnings, new experiences, new knowledge, okay, which will definitely uh, require that you give more attention to, the process, depending on what level of understanding or knowledge you want to acquire through it. Sometimes I take extra time for me to practice, because I know I need to learn. So in my leisure, I will take, all the extra drawing books, go outside or just look through the windows, and anything I see, I start sketching, draw cars, trees, human beings. In fact, there was a time I had to sit one of my senior colleagues down and ask him to teach me different strokes of drawing sketches of human beings. Then I learned how to use shapes to bring out human being images. You use rectangle, triangles, circle. I mean, so these are what creativity is all about, ingeniously thinking outside the box, uniquely defining a new pattern that governs the way you think, different from norms, different from convention. So you will get to be asking so many questions about why, what, when, then, how. This will become part of your vocabulary. You just want to challenge every norm, every pattern, okay? Because you can actually recreate the process. So this is what it takes. And usually this will require you to take risk, because some of these things may not work. And that's why people are afraid of failing, right? I remember one of my very close friends then in studio was a year ahead of me. I learned that he had been on campus for almost about 4 years, even before we got admission. And simply because he was so fixed with the fact that he's different from every other person, and lecturers weren't going to align with him on that terms. Can't forget the guy, Issa Honorable. The guy was just different. When everybody is walking in the direction of the brief, he will recreate the brief, redesign his own brief, and then begin to pick ideas, think into the future. The first time I heard about biomimicry, it was from him. you know, think way ahead of the future and then turn that into his own design brief and then come up with engineer. And of course, that kind of a person, no lecturer can actually, because no lecturer can actually jury him or supervise him, because he's way ahead of their thinking. So it's just something that is quite fascinating, something that is quite interesting, right? Which I'm sure that by the time you begin to step into that dimension, you'll see how much of value that alone will accord you. So that's creativity for you. Then innovation, which is the twin to creativity. Like I said, creativity is the mother of invention. And when you're talking about invention, we are definitely talking about innovation, because the process of invention is what we call innovation, where you practically execute those ideas, the dreams, those creative skills that you bring about, those unconventional way of doing things. You want to convert them into relatable products. You want to convert them into relatable objects or identifiable outcomes, desirable, and sometimes might even be undesirable, because in the case where you don't get it right, maybe you're learning how to draw a human being. The first attempt, you didn't get it right. You try again, add another element plus another element. And once you get it, voila, it becomes your own, uh, uh, um, your own royalty, kind of. It becomes something that is going to be associated with you as being the creator. So we're talking about innovation being a process by which you practically execute your thoughts, your ideas, those ingenious ideas. So this is why it is important that you do not separate innovation from creativity, because it's not just enough for you to have ideas. You must be able to turn them into reality. You must be able to turn them into solving problems. And you put them right out there on the field to see how it performs and how much of problems it solves. Yeah, Favor, you should definitely love architecture, right? I used to say architecture is the mother of all discipline. That's not going to be put to argument anyway, but I've heard a lot of philosophers says there's sociologists and all of that, but I believe architecture is a model of all discipline, because in architecture you study all disciplines. Trust me. But let's not go there to argue. But um, I love this side of innovation, not just the side of creativity, because the proof that you are creative is the fact that you're able to innovate. And this is what I mean. You don't talk about innovation without having talked about creativity. So I'll rather focus more on innovation because I know for me to operate within the paradigm of innovation, I must necessarily have grounded myself in creativity. So that's why whatever it is I want to do, I want to focus more on, developing myself into innovation rather than just premising myself in creativity, which is just the beginning of the journey. And you have two major categories of innovation for my findings, right? And categories are quite different from types. So I believe these two categories enveloped all types of innovation you see out there, either in terms of product development, in terms of transformation, organizational transformation, in terms of anything that has to do with change process, right? Which brings about new outcomes. Any of these are classified into two major categories. The first category has to talk about the increase or change or transformation of what is existing, which can be in form of smaller chunks of improvement. Okay, it can be in form of iterative or progressive change that happens to an existing system or process. Okay, so you call this one incremental innovation. So it comes in smaller chunks. I'll give a very good example. You have an existing product, like most of our applications, most of our phone applications, when they are initially released into the market for use, they come out maybe as a better version. That's A/B testing or A and B testing. That's what we call it in product development or tech. So they release it, and then so usually you have it as an initial version, which is majorly meant to collect information or data for continuous improvement, right? So maybe after a few months of use and testing by us, who are the end users and customers, there are prompts and different pop-ups that you see, or maybe after using up to the end of a particular process on the app, they will request that you submit uh, uh, um, feedbacks, maybe in terms of ratings or whatever. So all those information and data they're collecting is meant for continuous improvement, because the way they design the release is as such that it has to be incrementally improved upon. It has to be progressively, iteratively improved upon, right? So this is a form of innovation. So when you look at version 1, and by the time you are getting to version 10, you will see the difference in the outcome of the product. The same product, but different experiences, different. Um, I remember when computer just first came out, and Macintosh developed their first OS. I've forgotten the name they call it. Every OS upgrade, they have different names. They call it iOS upgrade by Macintosh. So you see the kind of features that the early OS had in Macintosh compared to what you have now. And anytime you do an upgrade, you see a new environment, new outlook, new features, some other kind of improvement that is made on it in order for you to have a better experience. So incremental innovation is as such that they are meant to give you new experiences, so that yesterday's experience or previous experience, the new experience coming is pretty much better, is more like an improvement on what. So they are not recreating the process. That's the first category of innovation. So you can think about things that you want to do in terms of solving problem. Are you going to rather collapse the entire structure, or you just want to improve on the existing structure by infusing new energies, by infusing new tract of ideas, by infusing new ways of working, new ways of pattern of thinking, or even supplies of materials, or something that can just recreate the experience, for the end users or customers. So that's incremental. The second one has to do with disruptive, and this is where I align so much, because I believe, like I mentioned to you in one of the previous, I think when we're talking about productivity, I believe so much that within the business environment where all projects or all human endeavors and human activities are governed, right? There is something that continuously drive change. There's something that continuously drive new experiences, and that is the process of disruption. So it can be in form of technology, it can be in form of act of God when you have natural disaster and co, or it can be in form of human intervention itself. I mean, things that we do and things we don't do, like the way we disrupt the ecosystem, where we have the so-called climate change appearances or climate change concepts, right? So all of these things are what the whole concept of disruption is all about. Its goal is basically to bring about transformation, to bring about a change, albeit good or bad. But as a good creative thinker, you want to ensure that what you bring about in terms of you transforming a system or transforming an experience, it has to be a better or the best experience you're going to give in terms of transformation, right? So these are two categories of innovation you want to think about. So whenever you sit down on your creative thinking planning table, I mean, you have the ideas you've creatively thought about, you've imagined, you've dreamt of, and you put it on the planning table, and you want to see how to take this through the process of product development or bringing new experiences out there. One of the things you have to determine is it going to be through incremental innovation or through disruptive innovation, right? And most of the things that outlive the inventors or the innovators are usually disruptive, because the outcome of each disruption birth new eras. Okay, the outcomes of new inventions usually birth new eras. Look at the people that invented great things. I mean, think about it in science, I mean, in art, and also in commerce. Like recently, I was reading again just as a refresher to study more about both micro and macroeconomics, and I remember again all the things I was taught about the father of economics, Adam Smith. You have even in social sciences. I mean, you have all these proponents, right? When nobody was thinking about life and imagining how to transform the whole concept called life in itself. These people thought outside the box and were able to recreate, new concepts, establish principles that some of us are now trying to do some incremental improvement upon. So the world still needs those disruptive innovators. We will think in the year 2000, I mean, sorry, 2100, what's life going to look like? Now is the best time to start fixing those ideas so that when you and I are no longer alive, the future generation will sustainably be able to create incremental processes and innovation that will build upon the foundation we're going to lay. So that is a challenge before us. So that's why you need to embrace innovation. I mean, sorry, creativity and innovation. For me, I believe there is always an intersect. There's always a relationship, a keen one for that matter, more like, that's why I call them Siamese twins. They are inseparable. For us to be able to get the desirable outcome in solving problems, in birthing change process, there has to be that connect, the right connection, the intersect that must happen between creativity and innovation. So you are not dealing with them as if they are separable entities. Exactly, like you want to talk about yourself being creative without you talking about yourself being innovative. No, they are inseparable entities, right? As much as you want to believe you are creative, you need to also see yourself as an innovator, right? And that's when you begin to think in the direction, having the mindset that you are converting your ideas into reality, which we have spoken about. So I believe that creativity is what drives the process of innovation. That's why I said innovation is a proof of your creative thinking. If you really want to prove to the whole world, it's not by you confessing or saying or even having known that you are creative. The only proof that you can live in the sand of time is through your innovations, is through those problems you eventually solve. Right? So that's exactly what the intersect is all about. And usually, when you solve problems, it gives a new experience. It gives all new experiences, as it were, and it gives some orientation on change. Lives never remain the same. Every invention, every innovation never leaves human the same way it met them, either in terms of science or art or culture, whatever it is, because it's going to take you from the dimension of norm to the dimension of new norm. If you get what I mean, it's going to take you from the dimension of known to the dimension of unknown known, where you need to begin to learn new things, maybe new ways of doing things, new ways of behavior, new ways And of course, you now begin to think about some process of socialization, how you acclimatize, how you quickly adapt. You see, where all those interpersonal skills that comes in, how you begin to integrate yourself, into this new experiences, and you can't fight it. Imagine, it's foolish enough for people to think that technology has not come to stay in this generation and they want to keep fighting so hard, right? They want to keep fighting so hard because technology is a product or is an outcome or an offshoot of innovation because of some people who believe so much in their creative thinking and they keep thinking through research, through design. That's what we call research and design, R&D. They keep laying their hands on things until they bring about new ways of solving human problems, right? Through innovations. And by the time this comes in, they begin to define new patterns of thinking. The way social media is defining now, it tells people you don't have to type and post more than 160 words. You don't need to use more than this. You can, rather than typing, you need to use voice prompt or you need to use video commands. So these are new experiences. So if you are someone who was born in the time of the boom boomers, or baby boomers, or you are millennials. Now we have the Gen Alphas. If you don't learn what experiences has been created for them, you will become irrelevant because your experiences will not suffice. Your whole experience is not going to suffice to contend with the new challenges, new problems that need to be solved in this current generation. So that's what the intersect and the connection between creativity and innovation is. And trust me, the world is looking for those creative leaders who are going to emerge, right, and be disposed to progressively, that's through incremental process, or disruptively, channel the path of innovation, whereby they solve problems and bring about new changes. And of course, positive one, because you don't want to bring about negative change, because the outcome comes in these two dimensions. Either it's going to be positive or it's going to be negative. That's why we call it risk, right? So every solution inherent in it has its own problem. So the best solution is one that has the least problem. If people knew by the time they're carrying out research in the lab in trying to come about their innovative product, if they knew that there are certain side effects or problems majorly associated with some of these solutions, they will have killed it right there and keep reinventing until they get the one that has the least. But some are so quick because of the initial benefit or immediate benefit they want to derive. Or sometimes the benefit might just be in terms of fame, right? So they want to catch up with time. So they just quickly release it. And then without minding the negative disruption that is going to cause. An example is what we saw during COVID-19, right? So that's what the intersect is all about. This has been so emphasized because we need to know the reason behind these two intersects. I mean, why innovation and creativity are quite important. Again, there are so many problems, myriad problems in the world, and the problems will continue to remain. And that's what necessitates that innovators, creative thinkers need to continue to emerge. All developed economies have a system of utilizing think tanks, right? I mean, when you go to the United States, you go to Europe, you go to China, you go to Britain, you see that within their leadership system, they have people that they call think tank, either in the economic system or in any of this product development system of this nation, because there has to be people who are on a continuous basis thinking outside the box, right, to innovate new processes. So part of what they do, and sometimes this leadership also aligns with research institutes like Ivy League universities or creative and innovative organizations like you have McKinsey, you have Work Development Forum, you have in the United Nations, you have quite a number of these initiatives that they've set up as think tanks who, on a continuous basis, with level of investment, continue to carry out researches, data development in order to drive uh, uh, innovation processes. So these are the reasons why this is very important, because we must solve problems and we would continue to do that on a continuous basis. And of course, because in solving problems, we don't just want to come up with any kind of solution. We want to have a solution that is competitive enough that will outlive our time, a durable, sustainable solution that will not impose negative sanction on future generation in order to also inhibit them, kind of limit them, hinder them from solving their own problems that is going to be imminent in the future. None of us have been to the future. We don't know what level of or dimension of problems they are going to encounter and challenges they need to solve. So we don't want our own solution we are creating now to hinder them from having the capacity to be able to also innovate, solutions for the future. So this is the reason why it's important that we connect these two. And of course, there's also a need for us to continually adapt to changes, right? The world is becoming a global village because of technology is driving all processes. Like here we have a diverse group here. We have people connecting from different part of the world, and perhaps we even speak different languages. So one of the things that creativity, the intersection between creativity and innovation would do is to bridge that divide, right? So you can be having meeting with people of other languages that you don't even know anything about their language, nothing, and you don't need to bother yourself to know. You already have an AI interpreter that you connect with that will, in real time, without any form of delay, in real time, interpret the language in your own language. So when you go for such global meetings, you see them using headsets, because the main speaker is speaking his or her own local language, and you from the earpiece, because of AI interpreter connected, you are hearing in your own language that you understand. That is the power of innovation. And that's what technology can do. So there's a need to connect the entire world, regardless of the diversity, regardless of the level of disunity, disconnect. You need to connect, the entire world. So that's the reason for enhancing creativity and connecting with innovation. So, what are the challenges that we will necessarily face? Because the journey is not going to be without challenges. It's not going to be without facing some roadblocks. Number one is the fact that people are going to be fearful of attempting new things. Despite changes, a constant K in life. When you say change, change is something that is inevitable in life. Yet, people are always afraid. People are always antagonizing change because nobody wants to change, right? People believe they are so accustomed to their tradition, to their old way of thinking, they believe that they can easily get away with what is known. Not everybody wants to dare the unknown, right? Because of the level of uncertainty, the what if, the risk associated. So because of that, you will have to deal with this. And of course, you can use several mechanisms. There are several methods by which you can deal with fear. Sometimes if you have a phobia for water, right? How do you overcome that water? Rather than you just jumping directly into the water, you want to first of all touch, maybe with your hand, which is part of your receptacles, or you want to use your leg. I mean, if you understand and if you have experienced this before, you want to first of all test it. You want to try it out. If anything is going to bond from your hand or you're going to contact any disease because you're touching water, you want to let it start with your hand or your leg, right? So that becomes the point, right? So this is what we call the process of experimentation. So you do that as well when you are moving into the dimension of innovation with your creative ideas. Some people will not believe in your ideas, and because of that, because you're going to lack some kind of support, that might necessitate you to be afraid of adoption, of acceptance, and all of sorts. Hey, you just need to be bold enough, be confident enough in your dream, be confident enough in what you alone is seeing that every other person is not. I can imagine how crazy they will have called Michael Faraday, how crazy they will have called Isaac Newton, how crazy they will have called Elon Musk, which up to now they still call him a crazy dude, right? That is what it takes to be fearless. That's what it takes, to dare the abnorm, right? What is against convention. So you need to be that courageous by taking those little leaps, which we call experimentation. Just try it out. You don't need to take all full blown out. Try it out, and then you see the outcome. And even if you fail at it, sometimes if it drops you on the ground at it, you need to get the groove for you to be able to stand up again and keep attempting. So that's the way for you to overcome any fear. The other one has to do with collaboration, has to do with how you network and connect with people. I always believe that the journey to innovation is not something that you can embark on your own alone, right? It's going to be too lonely. It's going to be too uh, 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 just too scary, so to speak. If you are just going all alone when everywhere seems dark, who's going to be around you to be like a shadow that is going to throw light on your path? If it's going to just be more like support group or a cheerleader, so you need people around you. So you need to use your people skill, interpersonal skill, for you to be able to learn, connection, collaboration. Because in places where you are going to fail, necessarily it might be places where others will have information that will really help you not to fail. This will also help you as an entrepreneur. You have that business idea, but you just don't know how to go about it. The easy path to navigate through is for you to think about partnership, for you to think about joint venture, right? Because in selecting your partners, in selecting your venture capitalists or your investors, you determine, you conduct SWOT analysis on your ideas, SWOT analysis on yourself, and know areas of your weakness. And that will be the basis of you deciding the partners or the venture capitalists or the investors, because they are going to bridge your weaknesses and you will leverage on your strength. So this is a simple way to overcome, those kind of challenges, because you need collaboration for you to succeed. Because collaboration brings in diverse views, it brings in different perspective, it brings in different orientations. Imagine people speaking different languages. By the time you interpret it, you have multiple options and alternatives in solving problems. So that's the beauty of creativity. That's why they say creativity is the mother of invention. So in itself, creativity talks about diversity, talks about differences, talk about different ways of viewing things. Then the other roadblocks has to do with money, has to do with resources, has to do with access to funds. You know, a lot of people have been limited in turning their ideas to reality because of funds, because of money. And in as much as we might think that money is not very fundamental, yeah, it might not be the first priority, but money is also very important. If you hear how much is going into research and development, research and design across board, imagine how much Elon Musk is spending when you look at his books and his statement of account of his companies, how much they are voting and spending annually on research, on experimenting on ideas, which many of them, maybe out of 100 experimentations and patents that they must have created, maybe it's just only one or one and a half or two at best that will actually sail through innovative process. But yet they spend a lot of money. I remember the last observation I had in the spaceship launch, the what's it called now? The spaceship that I launched sometime last year, I think around October, thereabout. Just a few minutes after the launch, the rocket left the launch pad, got into the air, and all of a sudden just caught fire and then came down before the some part of the launch pad. I've forgotten the name they call all this stuff, you know, quickly flew into the air, caught it, and then returned it back into what's it called, the launch pad. So that is an example of a failure, right? And it promised right there that they're going to go back to their drawing board and then recreate the solution. So this is one of the reasons why resources are very important. And again, collaboration, understanding, partnership, and all of this will help you manage it. There's some people that they don't have powerful creative thinking, but they have the money, they have the resources. You can leverage on partnership and collaboration for you to assess their resources, why they support your own creative thinking in bringing about innovation, and it becomes a win-win for everybody. So don't work in silo. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to overcome that. So what are the strategies that we can leverage on to promote creativity? The first one has to do with brainstorming. Any idea you have, don't be afraid to brainstorm with people, because in brainstorming you get refined idea. The idea you don't brainstorm, the idea you don't connect with others about, that you just keep to yourself, become unrefined, like what we say, raw idea. They are in the raw state, right? So for you to have innovative product, it has to be a processed, refined idea, and you start from when you begin to share with people, and you want to be also careful of who you share your idea with, who you brainstorm with. It has to be people that have that high inclination, right? Who will understand. There are some people that they are dream killers. There are some people who are idea destroyers. You don't want to connect because you can't even think at the same level. Okay, that's the essence of mentorship. Is the essence of coaching. Is the essence of continuous learning and all of that. You need to connect with people that will be on the same par with you and enable you to be able to process your idea, to avoid certain pitfalls and some of these roadblocks that we talked about. Then you also have the strategy called design thinking. I took a course 2 years ago from a French university on design thinking, and I was dazed. I thought I knew how to design, right? Design thinking, by the way, is one of the interpersonal skills. It's also a soft skill. Design thinking is a soft skill. And most people who are involved in product development always utilize design thinking, because in experimentation or in your product development, you need design thinking skill for you to be able to come about a proper method or ways by which you want to develop your product or develop your ideas and turning it from ideas into reality, right? In solving problems. So there were just few theses and few projects we did, and I was just very, very funny. One of them, which I still remember vividly, has to do with creating a cup of tea. Honestly, you need to see different ideas from the class, Of course, because I was just full of myself, because I know how to draw cups. I mean, cups was even the least of my worries in design. Like, I've seen cups many times. So even when I'm sleeping, I can. But there was something so unique that, they were actually looking for, which is how you place the 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 uh the tea itself inside the cup and how you envisage it, right? You have a cup. Just imagine a cistern, a container, right? You want to pour liquid inside it. It can be at different level. There are some that they'll be at zero level, meaning that you just have maybe almost a drop or no drop at all inside the water. You have another one at level 1, level 2, level 3, graded like that, right? Imagine the kind of perception or perspective you are going to see if it's at level 1. It's going to be different from if you see it at level 2. It's going to be different from if you see it at level 3. It's going to be different from when you see it at level 4, and on and on. And it's going to also be different if it's spilling over the cup. I don't know if you have experienced that when you're pouring your what's it called? You're pouring the hot water into from the jug into your cup, and you mistakenly let it spill over. Just imagine that perspective, right? These are the levels by which you can solve problem as well. That's what they. So this is one of the things that design thinking is all about. It helps you to imagine, right? So imagine the solution from design perspective. Just think about it. You want to build a car, right? How how do you have that imaginative perspective view of what the car would look like? Is it a car that is going to have 6 legs like we have in those days? I don't know how many of us remember the 6-legged vehicles then. Long, it's not articulated. It's a single saloon car, but it's quite long. I'm trying to remember the name we used to call it way back then. If anybody can remember. Uh, blah, 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 blah. I've
The
forgotten the
limousine
name.
or
Yeah, limousine. Yeah, limousine vehicles. I think that was a major brand then. So you see it's very long, and they have, I think at the time, they started using four tires, right? But just imagine, even when you're even thinking about articulated trucks that use 10 tires, 12 tires, 16 tires, I mean, someone must have thought about it, that you can actually connect, you know, or disassemble the part of a vehicle to carry some kind of articulated haulage and all of that. So that is what design thinking is all about. Whatever the solution is, you first of all imagine it and turn it into an imaginary object or figure, and then you can put it down maybe in terms of design. You draw it out, you sketch it out, or you use AI. Now that we have AI, you can just speak it to AI, and AI gives you 4 different variants. Then you can now start playing with options of colors and all of that. So that's what design thinking is. And this is always very, very important for everything you want to do, because this will make it have some human perspective, because it's coming from your brain, it's coming from your imagination. It's not something that you're just thinking out of human emotions. When you are using your brain, there's part of emotions that drive the process for you. So it helps you. Then again, collaboration is coming here again because it's so important, because you cannot solve problem alone. I keep emphasizing to people, especially for those that have this inclination of thinking they can work alone. No, never try it, right? Because this will really help you. And there are some organizations who have now developed intentionally, some kind of strategies, policies within the organization that enable them to develop new products. I don't know how many of us knew how the common Gmail everybody use now, because Gmail is one of the most popular email providers that people use. If you don't have email, I mean Gmail, you have not started using any email, because you won't be able to have access to, if not all, most of Google products online. So that Gmail was brought about by a creative and innovative policy of Google. They call it 20% time. What that means is 20% of daily work. If you have to work 8 hours, 20% of 8 hours in a day, which is about 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, thereabout. 40, 20% of your working hour on a daily basis. Cumulatively in a week, that means that one day out of every 5 working days of 6 working days in a week is like your creative, is a personal time that the organization gives the workers, Google staff, to just be on their own and do what they think they want to use that time to work on their personal ideas. And part of the things that all these staffs created was this Gmail, right? And I'm sure they actually painted it for the person, and person got his or her reality. So imagine Gmail would never have come, or would never have seen the product if not because of this policy or strategy. Then in Google, we also have, in Facebook, we have Facebook hackathons, the Facebook timeline, the Facebook live that we have right now. When you go on Facebook and you see Facebook live, you can live stream. Then you see the timeline. If you remember when Facebook first came out in 2009, or I think 2010, you see that they were in all these features there. But it was because of the Facebook hackathons. People on their own volition thought outside the box and were able to come up with this innovation. You have Apple, the iPad 2 was a result of this innovative program called Blue Sky program. I participated once in this many years ago, because even the Apple and the Microsoft one is what I participated most. Microsoft, when they were coming up with their Microsoft HoloLens, I don't know how many of us have used HoloLens. It's one of the what's it called now? The gears, what's it called now? The AI gears for Microsoft, where you have Google Glass, you have Microsoft HoloLens. It helps you to see images in 3Ds and all of that. So they were onboarding insiders. They call them Microsoft insiders way back then. I subscribed to the program and I learned quite a number of things through that. So they also have the one they call Garage program. So you have Microsoft staffs and volunteers who came up with what we have as Microsoft Team today. And then they sing. So there are quite a whole lot of these tech companies and some other organizations. I know there's also one in McKinsey. I can't remember the name. They all have these programs which they allow their staff on their own terms to think about an idea that they can, use the time to recreate outside of work. It's more like a given time outside of work for them to be able. So during this time, you can then enable collaboration. You can work with your peers, work with your colleague, either within or outside of the organization, for you to come about solutions. Again, in current times, right, tech technological inventions, technological product is what is facilitating the process of us creating new ways of solving problems. So you cannot say you don't like technology because technology is not a necessity, is a necessary disruptive element. So how you now use it, either for positive gains or for negative gains, is what determines your solution, right? So we want to harness the positives, we want to harness the opportunities in technology. So that's why you need to embrace it. AI, the blockchain technology, the three. In fact, you now have it when you are talking about building information modeling tools, the technology, BIM technology, is now up to the seventh dimension. I mean, ninth dimension. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's up to the ninth dimension now, because of the need for collaboration, the need for synergy, the need for bringing teams together to solve problems. Then you also have new technologies that are emerging from renewable energy in combating the impact of climate change. So all of these things are things you need to embrace so that when you are thinking about ways to solve problems, you can integrate all these new technologies into them, right? Then you know that you are actually emerging new ways of solving problems. Okay, I'm going to play a video shortly for you in rounding up, but let me just tell you again to remind you of what we discussed about mindsets. If you are going to develop and increase the capacity of your brain, right, to embrace this creative skill, it starts from the way you orientate your mindset. Okay, it depends on how you orientate your mindset. There are some people who are averse to change. They just believe they cannot change and they remain so. There are some people, they believe that technology is a hoax. It's just a way of enslavement again. They remain so, and they can never leverage on technology for their positives. They can never leverage on technology for their own development. So you need to change your mindset. When you see new things happening, it's better you even become curious. Curiosity will enable you to facilitate, embracing good mindsets. You just need to ask questions. Why? How? When? Why? I mean, when you ask questions, like I mentioned in previous session, he who asks in our local parlance, he who asks questions never miss road. You can never be wrong when you ask questions because you'll be directed towards the right answer. And you need to remain curious until when you get the answers, right? And the more you ask, the deeper you dig, the more you unravel answers, right? So you can have the right mindset. So you need to cultivate that mindset. Ask questions and query things, evaluate things, research, read, commit to lifelong learning, and that will enable you to be able to get the right inspiration which you need for you to be able to embrace new ways of doing things. So I'm going to play this video for you. And after that, I will open the platform for contribution and also for question.
Everyone can be creative whether they realize it or not. A lot of people tend to think that creativity is binary. Either you have it or you don't. But in reality, we do all have it. It's just a matter of how you interpret it. Some people think, I'm not an artist, so I don't use creativity at work. But it's more than just artistic expression. Whether you're working in retail, or you're in an office job, or even if you're a professional athlete, you're probably using creativity to make decisions and solve problems on a daily basis. Creativity is both a skill and a process. It's something you can learn. And like any other skill, it's something you can get better at through practice and repeated use. Now, you might think, well, I don't have time to sit down and create something every day. This is where it's important to realize the difference between using creativity and actually creating something. In a lot of ways, creativity is all about how you see things. So yeah, you can use it to create poems or paintings, but you can also use it in practical ways, like coming up with an alternate solution for a work project or organizing things in your home. So the next time you think, I'm not creative, or I'm not as creative as some other people, take a step back and really take a look at what it is you do on a day-to-day basis. You might be surprised at how often you're using creativity.
Goodwill Community Foundation.
Everyone can be creative.
Okay, so like you heard the speaker, everyone can be creative. So don't say, oh, I'm not creative. Like I said, it's either is inborn or you learning it. So whichever way you can decide right now on how you want to pursue creativity, single, excuse me, singularly because you want to pursue solving problems. Because like I mentioned, is a necessary and essential skill you need to embrace, you need to learn, you need to acquire in order for you to ingeniously solve problems and distinguish yourself in the market, or as you're pursuing your goals in order for you to be able to create new experiences for people in the way you deliver value and amplify your benefits people derive from your solutions. So we're going to stop here. I can see some questions or comments in the chat box. I'm trying to respond to them. So let me just bring them forward. Richman hacks that could it be say that sometimes circumstances or situations birth creativity. Yeah, absolutely. You know, just like what happened during COVID. That's why I keep using COVID-19 because that's very relatable. COVID necessitated, nobody planned for COVID, nobody saw it coming. And if at all anybody saw it coming in terms of maybe foresee of having a foresight or prophecy or whatever, nobody knew the magnitude of the impact COVID was going to have, that people will be locked down for over a year in some cases and some places less than a year. Nobody knew that was going to happen, right? So, but the question is, even when circumstances happen, what you do with it depends on your mindset, how you leverage an opportunity, because every situation, albeit good or bad, palatable, unpalatable, proves to you or deliver to you opportunities, right? So what you see, either you see from your pessimistic perspective mindset, or you see from optimistic mindset, is what is going to help you to determine the level of creativity you're going to have. And so from COVID, you see a lot of companies emerge. You see a lot of people defining new ways of working. You see people inventing new technologies, to compete in the market uh, um, with Zoom and Co and all of that. So you can learn creativity. You can upskill on your creative ability as a matter of necessity. When you have pressure, circumstances can press you, situation can press you. When you have hard-on pressure, it can necessitate you to be creative. So yes, but like I said and advice, you don't need to wait for pressure to happen to you in life. Just as simple as when we're talking about savings yesterday. You don't need to wait for when you are in critical need before you now see the importance of savings. You've heard it, inclined your understanding to knowledge, and begin to practicalize it. And you see how that is going to cause transformation in your life first. And then you'll be able to transform other people's lives in solving problems. Then Dr. Shade said that she had a friend, old friend, who told her about an idea wasn't, I mean, who told her an idea wasn't that good because of the saturated market. And she went on into that same line of work. Said she can't blame her. Yeah, I mean, so sometimes your perception might be wrong, but deep within you, you have some level of conviction. That's why I'm not just talking about perception, I'm also talking about the depth of conviction, right? Sometimes you may not even really believe in what you are seeing, but there is something stronger than your sight, okay, which uh, uh, um, upon which we begin to define our belief systems, begin to talk about our faith, and that's deep convictions. You don't need to see. In fact, the Bible says that blessed are you who believe yet without seeing. So sight is limiting. Trust me, in life, you can't see it all, yet you need to do extraordinary things. If you have to wait until when you see all things, then you are going to keep limiting yourself. In fact, that becomes a major roadblock you need to deal with. So you want to work more on your convictions, right? In order for you to be able to dare the impossible, to take that unusual leap of faith across board. And that's what I think we really need in these times, age and time where we live in, right? I don't need to have been to the United States before I know that if there are opportunities for me to make investment in the United States, I can actually do that. I can't be everywhere in the world, but if the opportunity emerging in different part of the world, I can leverage on it. I can collaborate. I can raise teams. I can. So this is what deep of conviction is all about, and you can solve problems across board. Right, even with technology, right from wherever you are in your living room, in your bedroom, on your computer, on your phone, right? So this is what it means, to have deep convictions and you pursue your convictions. Okay, so any question, any comment, feedbacks as we round up talking about creativity, innovation? Because the next time I want to hear from you, I want to hear of your exploits, the problems you're solving, and how you are innovatively solving those problems, how you are bringing about transformative experiences for people anywhere you go. So this becomes like a lifestyle for you. You are not going to leave people the same way with the same experience. Everyone that come in contact with you must be able to experience newness, must be able to see life from a different perspective. When you open your mouth to talk, it's coming from the wealth of creative thinking. You're not just talking out of norm. When they talk about the wisdom of Solomon, this is what they're talking about. When you read the book of Solomon, that's in Proverbs, you read King Ecclesiastes, you read Songs of Solomon, you will see that this man is not just called a wise man. He's a creative and innovative, person, right? So that's exactly what we're talking about. you know. So I need comments, I need feedbacks, and maybe you want to share your personal experience on how you've been leveraging on this uh, um, um, skill. Okay,
Sir,
it's
good
fine.
evening. Thank you very much for the discussion, sir. So I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, please
Uh,
go ahead.
okay. Before the session, I read something that no question is well, let's say it's silly or something like that. But not asking the question is what is not really good, like correct. My question is, you mentioned the roadblocks of innovation and creativity, and then everyone knows that resources. Let me say, specifically, majorly, money is always a roadblock for innovation. What do you think one can do when there's this idea, but there is no resources to back it up? What can someone do? Someone do?
Okay, so I will tell you what, so that it's not like I'm telling you books. I'm going to tell you what I do or what I've done or what I would do, whatever the situation may be, what I've done in the past, what I'm doing now, what I will do in the future, leveraging opportunities. So number one is, it's a process. So don't jump the gun. The process is know your idea. That's why I give you the assignment, set the goal, put the ideas down, right? Then get to the point whereby this idea is going to be turned into a business venture. If it's going to go via that route, you want to set a business up, you want to have a startup, you want to start a practice, all of this stuff, you have to create a business plan. By the time you're doing your business plan development, based on the assignment I give you and what I showed you 2 days ago, you will discover that part of what you are going to be analyzing has to do with your financial plan. You have to do your financial analysis. If I've shared the full template or the full detail of how to develop the plan, you see that there's a financial statement document where you have to create your balance sheet, create all this stuff. You have to learn all these things and be able to do it. So first of all, you have informed yourself and gotten information about how much is required in terms of capital expenditure. Sometimes when someone comes to me and says, oh, I need this, but by the time you ask questions, because I must ask questions, because I'm a creative thinker. You say, oh, I need a support of 2 million naira to run my business, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no problem. 2 million, no wala. I ask question one, question two, and you fail at all dimensions. I know that you don't need the money, because even if you get that money, you are going to squander the money. You will not use the money to achieve the goal of the business. So you need to do the first thing first, which is you getting to know exactly what the viability of that business is all about, or what that idea. Now I'm using business because I believe that that idea is going to be turned into reality via business venture or business opportunities, right? But if it's not going in that route, if it's going to be because you want to do product development and it's just to collaborate, or you want to even sell your idea, so you need to value and know what premium you are placing on that idea. So that's where you start from. So yeah, now you understand you need X amount of money. How do you get it? There are several opportunities. I shared them with you when I was talking yesterday. You can look at the dimension of crowdsourcing in business. These are sources of funding for your business. You can look at crowdsourcing. You can look at loans. You can look at grants. You can look at business scholarships. You can look at bonds. can look at partnership. I just mentioned again, emphasizing that today, using joint ventures agreements, or you look for venture capitalists. I mean, there are several opportunities depending on the environment as well, because some environments, in fact, in Nigeria, for MSME, that's a micro, small, medium enterprises, you have government interventions for these businesses. You also have Bank of Industry. You have quite a lot. So you want to be sure, and there is none of these agencies or none of these outfits that will not ask for your business plan. Is a major prerequisite. So why don't you start from there? When you have a robust, sellable, winnable, I mean, a winning, sorry, not winnable, a winning business pitch and proposal, anybody will be able to align with that. You must be able to, first of all, convince yourself that this thing is a winning idea before you can now say the idea is going to rule the world and attract opportunities and value. So if you have explored all these and yet it still fails, that's why I told you that you need to start saving yesterday. So if you do not conclude within yourself that you need to start saving, is the more reason why you need to. Today is the third best, if there's anything like that. Yesterday I said was the second best. Today might be the third best, and you don't want to continue to procrastinate. So start saving. Your saving may be the first input into your capex, into your investment portfolio, right? I just did a simple math for you yesterday. You are earning 100,000. As simple as that, 20% your savings. By the end of the year, you should have about 240 or 120,000 naira that you can save, which I know that definitely maybe your salary will be doubled or more than that. And what I mean by that is your salary may not be only means of income. You have other streams of income. When you accumulate all that, you put. So this thing is just for you to be accountable, to be financially literate, to be financially knowledgeable and understanding how you need to appropriate your streams of income in order for you to be able to leverage on it, right? And the bigger the idea, the bigger the resources that will require. If you want to, if you have an idea to build an aeroplane, you know that that will require a huge amount of resources than if you want to just build a house, or you just want to build a phone or some other smaller product and all of that. So you have to, so sometimes you don't want to be ambitious about your idea, right? If you have it, put it in the cooler, put it in reserve, but the little one that are manageable, start from the smaller one. What your 250,000 naira can do with out of all your ideas, start with it, before the bigger opportunity comes, so that you don't get discouraged. That's how you will manage your expectations. I don't know if this helps.
Thank you very much, sir. I
Okay.
time. I don't know.
Any
Uh,
other contribution or comment or questions so that we can round up? Any other question? Each time I see you guys in the session, I see people who are going to step out there, audacious, bold, courageous, to solve problems. Trust me, the world is looking for each of you to man different areas in the industry, different areas of life to solve problems. The sky is so big that it will accommodate all of us and generations to come. All of us out there solving problems. So don't think that it's about competition. Not at all. There is never going to be any competition in solving problems. Every idea will be a winning idea as long as you do it in all the ways I've reeled out for you. Okay. If there's no other question, I think we would close.
Those, I have something to share.
Okay, please
Hello.
go ahead.
I remember that there was a time, it was even like 2 years or 3 years ago. I know I have a business idea. So I brought it up. I told some of my friends, like okay, four of them or so, with me making like five. Two people rejected it, but others supported it. I know, you see, I know that I can't do it alone, so I know that I tell them that we should put resources together, and then it was fine. Then they agreed. Then we set up the plan, like contribution every month, weekly, and that to start the business. So we started. It was going fine. Well, the contribution. I've done the research, the market space and everything. I've done everything, I've marked everything out. But what happened is that when the money arrived, when the contribution, like you have some money done, right? we get some cool cash that at least we can start something. That was when inflation comes up. That's number one issue, number one problem that we had then. Number two was that all of us were not in the same place. So we're now considering who will stay with the business now. So everybody was just scattered all around the place. Nobody to. So that's one of the what that was what eventually even stopped the business. Though I still have it in mind, but now even the money is like even can't even buy can't even buy one equipment now that we need for the business back then. So that's the um how that went then. Hello. Oh God.
Yeah, Utsman. So if I get it correct, so that we don't stretch this session, if I get it correct, you had challenge with your cooperative setup because of inflation and of course because of distance and location of people who are members of. So again, it talks about knowledge because I would say for free that you guys weren't knowledgeable enough on how to operate the cooperative setup. One of the things about cooperative is more like every other investment system within banking, commercial banking. What you do at that level is you collect money from everybody, and one person would take out the money, right, as a pool fund. That in itself is not sustainable because you would rather bet to have more people in order for you to be able to have substantial amount of money for pullout. So I can tell you for free that it's not really sustainable. Okay. Someone should not tell me, oh, but there are other cooperative. Yeah, I mean, there are other cooperative, but you will rest assured that the more the membership, the more they have money for them to be able to do reinvestment, not just people taking pool out of the account, right? So again, if you are not bringing investments, savings into the cooperative system, it's not going to be sustainable because when things like inflation happens, you have not been able to plan to mitigate the risk because inflation or inflationary factors to this kind of investment is a major high risk. And when it happens, it can destabilize the entire stuff and make it go bankrupt, right? That's what usually happens. So you want to ensure that you have some other forms of savings. Maybe you take part of, maybe there's a percentage of the contribution that you have to take to do reinvestments. Maybe you buy stock, shares, bonds, or you even convert them into dollars and save it in a fixed account and all of that so that it can also generate more income for sustainability. But of course, like I said, is lack of or inadequate information or knowledge that you have about that. So I, for one, don't believe in it. And that's why personally, I don't even encourage someone. I'm not saying it doesn't work for other people, but for me, it doesn't work for me. So you never see me part of any cooperative, doing any cooperative stuff and all of that. Because the knowledge I have, it might be very difficult to impress on other people, right? So if you are not, because a form of collaboration is that cooperative. You want to collaborate with people that you have shared knowledge and shared ideas, right? If anything happens with that gap, with that perspective, it becomes a major problem. You see people fight each other in cooperative simply because there is divergent views to what the money needed to be done. So all these things has to be appropriated. Then you need to also formalize it, have agreements, have policies, blah blah blah. So it's a whole lot of entanglement. So you don't want to go via that route. That is for me. But for subsistence living, I know some people will want to be pulling money house from cooperative to be living on a monthly basis or weekly basis or something like that. So their salary, they take some percentage, put it in cooperative. By the time they are pulling out, it's going to help them solve. Maybe they want to buy laptop, they want to pay rent, annual rent, they want to buy car, all these things. It's okay. I mean, all these things are subsistence. This thing cannot suffice for you to run a real business that will, I mean, thinking about how can Dangote be saying that his cooperative is using to run his business? That's too cheap. Uh, a financial process. It's too cheap an investment process for him, right? So you need to understand this. That's why I told you yesterday, it's a lifelong learning. You need to learn beyond some of what I shared with you yesterday were just fundamentals. So you need to learn beyond that and know what are the financial systems within the financial sector. What are the level of investment portfolios that you can embrace? Okay, so let's round up here. Let's round up here so that we'll be able to, because we'll really stretch out today. So please feel free. You can do a communication with me if you have any other things to share, or we can take the conversation into the WhatsApp group. Okay, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a good night, Ray.
Yeah,
Bye,
you
everyone.
too.